definitely have something to prove, not only to the country that we arrive in, but also the family that we still have behind, to show everybody that coming to a new country and being an immigrant was worth it.
Hello guys, my name is Quinton and welcome back to our YouTube channel. We are the Hillsborough County Young Democrats and this is our vlog. So why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Hi everybody, my name is Ena Vizcaino. I am the Secretary of the Hillsborough County Young Democrats, and yeah.
That's it. So I'm really excited about this article. Right now, immigration is a really hot button issue and we hear it a lot on the national stage, but that also has local effects right here in our backyard. And so we wrote an article about kind of like your immigration story. So just give us like a brief overview about like who you are, where you come from, and like a general overview of your article.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Colombia. My family moved to the States when I was 15 years old. It was about 13 years ago. And we've always been living in Tampa, always been living in the Hillsborough County. And you know, I think that like every other immigrant to this country, there's always a certain level of struggle that we all go through when we first arrive to the United States. And I don't think it's only particular to immigrants to the United States. I think it's very common for immigrants that go everywhere in the world.
So Ena, what are the biggest misconceptions that you feel that Americans, native-born Americans, have about immigration and migrants that come to this country?
I think that the biggest misconception is that a lot of people who don't really know exactly how immigration really happens and why it takes place. Why do people decide to migrate out of their native country and go to a new place? I think that, you know, for anyone that has been through something like what my family and I have been through, it's really not an easy decision to come to be like, we gotta pick up and we gotta go. It's something that, you know, it's not a difficult decision to arrive to. It's something that people plan. How are we gonna go? Who do we know that we can go to this place? Does anybody have contacts that can help us find a place to stay, find a place to live, help us find work? You know, I think that those are the biggest misconceptions. Even for those of us who have come here legally, it's still not.
It's pretty difficult.
It's a very complex process to get legal documentation to come to the States, and it's very time consuming. It takes a long time. It took my family and I about 10 years. Wow. We started our processes.
Very long time.
Very long time, a whole decade. We started our processes when I was about 5 years old, and by the time the process completed, I was 15. So yeah, if you really do the math, it's a whole decade. Just being on wait list, from another wait list to another wait list, and then finally being asked to file up documentation. And these are documentation that is all in English, and you know, in another country where English is not spoken, you know, you're like, okay, how do we fill this out? Very difficult to find anybody that would know about this process and how to fill this documentation out. Normally we ended up relying on family that had already been through the process and they knew how to file this documentation. And most of these family were already here in the United States. So it was still a very difficult process to go through. It wasn't easy at all, and it wasn't cheap.
Yeah, and I'm not condoning the people that do come here illegally, but from the grand scheme of things, you can see why someone wouldn't go through the whole process, because if you go through the proper channels and do it legally, it's a financial drain, which we just talked about, it's a time drain, so it puts an emotional drain on your family. So why do all that? We could just like jump the border and come to the States.
Right.
Again, I'm not saying that's right, I'm not saying that shouldn't be illegal, but I can see the thought process of people who come to this country from an illegal way.
Right, and so for a lot of countries, for example, countries especially in Central America, like El Salvador, Nicaragua, Guatemala, where there's enormous amounts of violence in these countries, sometimes the people don't really have time to wait until all of these processes go through. They have to get out now.
They don't have a decade to wait.
Yeah,
they can't stay there for another 10 years.
Definitely, they have to get out now because their lives is in danger, not only for themselves but also for their children. So what's making these people, these mothers, to grab on their children and literally walk from country to country until they get to the United States.
So after high school, you went to college. You got your associates in
Liberal arts.
liberal arts. How was that process of being a migrant and applying to the U.S. educational system, to the higher education schools?
It was very difficult. I didn't think I had a chance, really, of being accepted into any college, really. I thought that college is always harder. College is always harder than high school, for sure. And I was very afraid about having to write papers and my English not being very well, but in a professional way, I would pass my essays and things like that. I was very afraid of that, for sure. Furthermore, I had just arrived in the States probably about 2 years before I went to college, so I was still navigating what I wanted to do in college, and it was a very scary process for me. I was like, I have to really burn my eyebrows making sure that my papers are correct, because I'm not going to be able to pass my classes, and I can't really rely on the fact that, oh well, but I'm an immigrant, I just got here. When you're in college, it doesn't work the same way that it does in high school, where you get I got tons of help from my school, because they knew that I was an immigrant, that I had just arrived. I was enrolled as an ESOL student, and there is no such thing as that in college.
Gotcha.
You know, you're just
Throw
another
you all
student.
in there?
Yeah, you're just another student. So, you know, that is why I'm very thankful that I decided to go to HCYD and start my college career there, because I feel like they did have preparatory classes that I was able to take.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, trying to take those before going into freshman English 1 and 2.
One really touching part that I really enjoyed about your article is when you talk about your father. I can tell that you really, truly love your father, and you said that because his English wasn't that good, he had a really difficult time getting jobs, and so you said that he typically got like immigrant type jobs, so like custodian jobs and housekeeping jobs. How did you navigate the world where you start to learn English, and so you went to college, but then your dad is still struggling with his English, still struggling with getting those higher paying jobs? How did you navigate through that world?
You know, we just had to take it one step by step, taking one day at a time. My dad still till today has trouble speaking in English. He needs for people to speak very slowly to him, and he definitely still has a hard time being able to talk back and engage in conversation. He can't do that. When we arrived in the States, he was already 55 years old.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty old age to be trying to learn a new language, let alone English, which is, believe it or not, it's a very difficult language to learn. Getting the low-paying jobs, always getting the jobs that are immigrant-led, where the majority of the people that work doing this are immigrants who don't speak the language, which is basically being a janitor, being a custodian, working in housekeeping, all of those things. So having about 2 jobs at a time was really the way that he was able to provide for us. My older sister, learned also very good English, and she was able to get higher paying jobs, but at the same time she was very young, and then she was also trying to go to school at USF as well.
I have so much admiration for especially like young kids that come to this country, because they have such a hustle, they have such a grind. Like for me, I'm not saying I was a lazy kid, but I definitely like rested on the fact that I could kind of just skate by, and I ended up doing well throughout my schooling. But I think immigrants that come here, they have this fierce drive to succeed, and I think that's so beautiful.
Definitely, we definitely have something to prove, not only to the country that we arrive in, but also the family that we still have behind, to show everybody that coming to a new country and being an immigrant was worth it.
So let's talk about green card status. If you could just break down simply what a green card is to someone who doesn't know what that is.
Absolutely. So a green card is the permit that immigrants get to stay in the United States legally. It looks just like an ID. It looks just like a driver's license, but it's made at the federal level. It's not made by each state. When we arrived in the States, we had our documents to present to immigration officers as soon as we arrived in the airport. And once we presented those documents, we were interviewed a little bit, or at least my dad was, because we were minors. After that, we were told, you know, you're free to go, you're gonna receive your documents in the mail. And so in the mail, we got our green cards for all of us, and then our social securities too. When I was applying for jobs, and I was a green card holder, I was always asked, what's the number on your green card? And I had to put that on all of my applications.
Now, when you became an actual citizen, I'm sure that was a very, very happy time for you and your entire family. And in the article, you read about how you start to see things differently. So, for example, you were able to get public health care. What other advantages did you see of being a citizen of the U.S.?
Being able to vote. It's one of the biggest things that, you know, I was able to participate in voting and going cast a vote, just like another U.S. citizen. You know, to me, that was the most meaningful of all the changes. You know, being able to apply to internships that I wanted, you know, for the federal government, being able to apply to other programs, like for example, the Peace Corps and the Merit Corps. Those are only open for U.S. citizens. So being able to apply to all of those things that I was so badly pursuing, definitely felt like I was living better after getting my citizenship, for sure.
That's beautiful. And I know it was a long road for you. Like you said, it was a decade in the making. It was over 10 years in the making, but then you wait for things like that, it makes it so much more worthwhile. So
Absolutely.
So in conclusion, I love the way you ended your article. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this. You're right, our current situation is not perfect, but progress can be felt. There's still a long road to fix immigration, but I hope that with my story, I can bring knowledge about the process and the struggles that immigrants endure. So just in closing, overall, like, what do you want people to gain from this? What action do you want people to get from this video?
The most important thing is to not be so quick to judge about immigrants and why people decide to come here, even if it's through the illegal route. To not be so quick to judge, to not be so quick to just to say, you know, send them back. Unfortunately, I'm here to stay. That's the most important thing for everybody to understand how complex being an immigrant really could be. How it's not an easy process to just decide to be like, we gotta get up and we gotta go. It doesn't happen overnight. It's something that everybody debates on for days, months, sometimes probably even years, to say, you know, we gotta pick up and we gotta go, even if it's through the illegal route. And I think that with my story, I also want to share that we are hardworking people. Immigrants, we're only here trying to get the opportunities that we're not able to get in our native countries, because this country has given me more opportunities than any other place. So wanting to become a part of it, and that is the most important thing that I want to share everybody, that we are people too.
That's so beautiful. There's such a drive within all immigrants to succeed, and I love how they come here, assimilate, and then create businesses and raise their families and become productive citizens of our society, become productive units of our world. And so it's really disheartening sometimes when you see like all these negative stories, especially from our president, coming from things like that. But I think it's so beautiful to sit down and kind of have an open discussion, an open conversation with someone who's been through the immigration process, who's conquered it, and who's doing well in their life. And so that was really my main issue for coming here. Really why I wanted to kind of have you do the article and do the video.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else in closing?
No. God bless America.
I like it. Thank you guys so much for watching our video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. See you guys later. Bye.